freedom is on the move. This is the day John Q. Public got mad.
We're back, and as happens from time to time on live radio, our scheduled guest is a no-show. But this guy has a legitimate excuse. If you've read today's paper, you know who I'm talking about. If not, well, let me take you back and show you how it all began. For years he reads the morning papers, but today the words don't seem to fit. Not that the news is any different, but that straw just made that camel quit. And those headlines stood out big and bold, and he saw right through the massive hole. His eyes grew red at first to cry, but he bit his lip and said that
I am not gonna take this anymore.
And 5 minutes later he was out the door. And not since 1965 did he feel so right and so alive. He borrowed books to try to end the confusion. He even reread the Constitution. And it'd be funny if it weren't so sad, cause this is the day John Q got mad.
He's gone, gone, he's so out of touch. He's gone cause he's learning too much. And they say he's gone, gone, gone.
Everybody says he's gone.
Gone, gone.
So he marches at some demonstrations and he joins some unconventional groups. Some were quite legitimate, maybe one or two turned out to be kooks. But he knows he's gonna do some good, just like our forefathers said he should. So he fights for freedom, and after a while, our patriot has got a file. They know his face at the CIA, they watch his moves from day to day. See, they're afraid of old John Q, and if he gets too loud, they'll know what to do. They'll spread some lies in the morning news, some innuendos and half-truths. And it'd be funny if it weren't so sad, cause this is the day John Q got mad.
He's gone, gone, he's so out of touch. He's gone cause he's learning too much. And they say he's gone, gone, gone.
Everybody says he's gone.
Gone, gone, gone.
Everybody knows he's gone. Well, old John Q became quite a star despite all that bad PR. He got interviewed on Donahue and even 60 Minutes too. And he says he's gonna write a book to teach the people how to look, to see behind the interviews, to look behind the daily news. And when his book is finally done, heads will roll. We'll know the ones who start the wars, who spread the lies, whose covert actions brutalize. Now allow me to set the stage. A year has passed since he made front page, not a word from old John Q until this morning's daily news. The headlines say he's gone insane. They found a tumor in his brain. He never did get to write that book. If you're surprised, take another look. You see, John found out a little too much, and they know how to deal with such. And it'd be funny if it weren't so sad, cause this is the day John Q got mad.
to Freedom Radio on the air with your host, Neal Fox, a.k.a. Uncle Neal. I can't believe I wrote that song in the 1980s, and it's even more true now. And this has been quite a week for freedom. Cancel culture is dying. Mandates are being eliminated all over the world. Facebook has had the biggest loss in the market than any company in the market's history. CNN is imploding. Fake news is being spotted everywhere it exists. People are waking up, and this time they're doing something about it. I've been around a long time on this planet, and I've never seen anything like this. Truly, John Q. Public has awakened. And we can thank our friends up north, the Canadian truckers, for getting the whole thing rolling. The Freedom Convoy started about a week ago up in Canada, and since then, countries that have started convoys, or are at least planning them, have included Italy, the USA, Netherlands, Australia, Germany, the Europe Freedom Convoy, Brussels, New South Wales, Finland, the Czech Republic, Belgium, France, Spain, Romania, Lithuania, and others by the time you're hearing this. This is the largest convoy in the history of this planet. And the mainstream media is either ignoring it, or when they're not, they're reporting it as a bunch of extremists, fascists, Nazis, white supremacists. The media is accusing them of being anti-jab, when at least 90% of the truckers have already been jabbed. No, this is not anti-jab. This is anti-mandates, anti-jab passports. You'd think the Marxist media would be thrilled that the workers of the world have finally united, but not exactly the way they expected. One hilarious report said they saw a guy with a Confederate flag. I don't know why anybody with a Confederate flag would be in Canada. It has nothing to do with Canada. But I saw the video, and there was this guy with his face completely covered, walking around with... We're talking about one guy, by the way, with a Confederate flag. He must have gotten lost. And the truckers were politely escorting him out. There are thousands of trucks. I think it's about 43 miles of truckers. And all along the line are people cheering them and waving them on, very, very peacefully, dancing, bringing food. Here's what their esteemed Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, had to say about the event.
Freedom of expression, assembly, and association are cornerstones of democracy, but Nazi symbolism, racist imagery, and desecration of war memorials are not. It is an insult to memory and truth. Hate can never be the answer. Over the past few days, Canadians were shocked and frankly disgusted by the behavior displayed by some people protesting in our nation's capital. I want to be very clear. We are not intimidated by those who hurl insults and abuse at small business workers and steal food from the homeless. We won't give in to those who fly racist flags. We won't cave to those who engage in vandalism or dishonor the memory of our veterans. To the politicians exploiting people's fears, I ask you to think long and hard about the consequences of your actions. To the nearly 90% of truckers across the country who've gotten vaccinated, who continue working hard to keep us fed and moving.
Not one thing he just said was true. There has been no violence, no acts of terrorism. People in Canada are for this. People all over the world are celebrating this particular event, this particular time in history, which is truly remarkable. I saw one woman came from Norway with a whole bunch of food and donuts and all kinds of goodies. The whole world is waking up to what has been going on for so many decades, which explains why this little tyrant is hiding out right now. Here's what he tweeted the other day. Today, in the House, members of Parliament unanimously condemned the anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-black racism, homophobia, and transphobia, that's a lot of phobias, that we've seen on display in Ottawa over the past number of days. Together, let's keep working to make Canada more inclusive. I think this man of the people needs a round of applause. We've been so fortunate
to find the one who can save the human race.
Nobody is doing more to show just how delusional our elected leaders actually are. And just to make life a little more interesting, the truckers were able to raise $10 million in a GoFundMe campaign. And GoFundMe, as of yesterday, decided they're going to withhold that money, and they're going to give it to charities that they determine are worthy. People could, of course, get a refund, but that's not the point. GoFundMe is claiming that this money could be used for dangerous activities. You know, giving it to terrorists and white supremacists and Nazis, you know. Oh, my.
Oh, my.
Well, I'm sure they got their lawyers on this one. So what started out as a simple protest against mandates has turned into a worldwide movement for human rights, a movement to take back what was always ours to begin with. Thank you, Canada, for starting one of the greatest things I've seen in my lifetime. John Q. Public has gotten off his backside, his eyes are wide open, and things will never be the same.
On the backs of the few ride the souls of the many. No one sees what they do or the hardship they bear. And their fight is for you, and they ask not a penny. They just want to be free. They just want what you do. And they stand on the line, and they face the uncertain, and they take the abuse as the price they must pay for the land that they love. They can shoulder the burden, so they keep coming back, and they fight one more day, and they look like you do, and they laugh like you do, and they love like you do, and they bleed like you do. So we drink to the land, and we drink to our future, feeling sure that someone keeps the devil at bay with their souls on the line for the life we got used to. We can sleep, rest assured, freedom lives one more day, one more day. And they look like you do, and they laugh like you do, and they love like you do, and they bleed like you do. So we drink to the land, and we drink to our future, feeling sure that someone keeps the devil at bay with their souls on the line for the life we got used to. We can sleep, rest assured, freedom lives one more day, one more day, one more day, one more day.
Let's talk about censorship. You probably already heard that Neil Young has asked Spotify to censor the Joe Rogan podcast. And Joni Mitchell and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Sharon Stone and a bunch of others are all in favor of censoring Joe Rogan. Why? Because he had the balls to ask questions. Of course, asking questions and discussing things is one of the primary ways we learn things, we find things out. If everything is all one-sided, just one group giving out all the information and censoring whatever is opposing it, you're not going to learn anything except the initial narrative. And that's tyranny. That goes against the Constitution. That's why we have a First Amendment. And the weird thing is that these are all old hippies who are all for freedom of speech. They're claiming that Rogan is giving out misinformation, disinformation, that's going to cause people to lose their lives and is very dangerous and he must be stopped. Even the Pope, for God's sakes, is saying we have to stop this misinformation. But he's not defining what misinformation is. Even the White House is going against the First Amendment, which is illegal, and asking Spotify to clamp down on free speech. This liberal obsession with silencing anyone who doesn't agree with their doctrine is really very much like a modern-day book burning. So asking questions has now become disinformation. Asking questions is part of the scientific method. It's the way to find out the truth. And yet those calling for censorship are telling you to follow the science. If you're ever a little foggy on what's right and what's wrong, what's true and what is false, I can give you one thing that you can hang your hat on. Whoever's doing the censoring is wrong. Period. That's just wrong. What are they hiding? What don't they want you to know? You can be sure they're doing something either illegal or unethical or just plain stupid. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't keep pornography away from children. That's not censorship. That's called common sense. But we need to use judgment, something sorely lacking these days. Ask yourself why Pfizer wanted to keep the initial reports of their jab results, a secret from the public for 55 years. And they got the FDA to agree to that. Over half a century, we wouldn't know what's going on with these jabs. Luckily, that was overturned by a court, and now we're going to be finding out more and more each month. And so far, it looks like they've been hiding an awful lot of adverse effects and deaths. Earlier in this podcast, I reported that Facebook just had its worst day in the history, not of Facebook, the worst day in the history of the stock market. They lost $250 billion overnight. The reason I was so happy about that? Well, here's one little reason. Facebook suspended the accounts of the U.S. truckers' Freedom Convoy page. That's 100,000 followers. They just decided, you don't have to hear what they have to say. We're going to keep it all secret. But big tech and the corporate news media have gone over the top with their censorship, and people are starting to see exactly what's going on. So it's a good day for freedom everywhere. This show is brought to you by me, my favorite sponsor. I am promoting my new album, which is getting the best reviews of my lifetime. The album is called Unhinged. It's available on therealnealfox.com. That's Neal Fox with an A, Nealfox, not Neil, like Neil Young. You can go there and you can find out all about it. You can see some merch with messages. I'm wearing one of those shirts right now. Here, take a look. It says, "What you don't know will hurt you." And you can stream the album on Spotify and Apple and all the great places where digital music is streamed. And if you like what I'm doing and you want to help support these efforts, become a patron at patreon.com/Neal Fox. That's still Neal Fox with an A. But the best thing you can do is share this podcast and share my videos. By the way, all my music videos I make single-handedly. I do it all myself on zero budget. I do all the animation and filming and editing myself. And since I am getting shadow banned heavily, it would be a great help if you'd go share anything of mine, videos, music, whatever, podcasts, get the word out, get on my mailing list at therealnealfox.com. Let's keep in touch. And, the war is not over yet. We've come very close to winning this battle, which is a major achievement. But we got to keep the push on. The only way to lose is to give up. And remember, if you're feeling a little bit down, bunky, go out and find someone who could use a little help. It's the best way to help yourself. Love you guys. See you next time.